The cryo chamber had been silent for 10,000 years. The hum of the machines that kept the humans frozen was steady, constant, and unnoticed by anyone. The storage facility on the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy was old now. Its walls were covered in dust that had not been disturbed for millennia. The lights flickered occasionally, but no one came to fix them. The humans slept on, row after row of frozen bodies, each in their own glass coffin. The galaxy had moved on. Civilizations rose and fell while humanity remained in their frozen state. The great empires that had once promised to wake them had crumbled into dust. The alien races that had agreed to watch over them had forgotten their duty. There were wars, there were plagues, there was a great shifting of power across the stars. And through it all, humanity slept. The chamber was vast. It stretched for miles in every direction, filled with row upon row of sleeping humans. There were millions of them, the last survivors of a dying Earth. They had been put to sleep with the promise that they would be woken when the galaxy was safe, when a new home was found for them. But that promise had been broken, not through malice, but through simple forgetfulness. The galaxy had bigger problems to deal with than a few million frozen humans. The aliens who had once been humanity's guardians had moved on. They had their own planets to worry about, their own species to protect. The humans were just a footnote in their history books, a brief curiosity that had long since been forgotten. The documents that explained why they had been put to sleep were lost. The instructions for waking them were buried deep in some forgotten archive on a planet that no longer existed. The machines that kept the humans alive were old. They were not designed to last this long. Every few centuries, a system would fail, and a row of humans would be lost. It was a slow process, almost unnoticeable. The number of sleeping humans was decreasing, but no one was counting. No one even remembered they were there. The chamber was located on a small moon orbiting a gas giant in a remote corner of the galaxy. It was not a strategic location. It had no valuable resources. It was simply the place where the humans had been left. The aliens who had put them there had chosen it because it was safe, because it was out of the way, because it was unlikely anyone would bother them there. They had been right. No one had. The humans inside their frozen coffins dreamed. They dreamed of Earth, of blue skies and green grass. They dreamed of the lives they had left behind, of families and friends, of loves and losses. They dreamed of waking up, of stepping out into a new world. But their dreams were old now. The images in their minds were like faded photographs, memories of a world that no longer existed. Time passed. The galaxy changed. New species rose to prominence. Old ones faded away. Empires were built and destroyed. Technology advanced and was lost. The humans slept through it all, oblivious to the passage of time. They were the forgotten ones, the ones left behind. But something was changing. The machines that kept the humans frozen were failing faster now. One by one, systems were shutting down. The temperature in some sections was rising, and the humans there were beginning to stir. They were still asleep, still caught in their dreams, but their bodies were starting to wake. The first human to wake was a woman named Sarah. She opened her eyes slowly, blinking against the dim light of the chamber. She was confused. She remembered being put to sleep, remembered the doctors telling her it would be a few years, maybe a few decades. She had not expected to wake up in a dark room filled with the smell of decay. She tried to sit up, but her body was weak. Her muscles had atrophied during her long sleep. She could barely move her arms. She lay there for a long time, trying to piece together what had happened. The last thing she remembered was the injection, the feeling of cold spreading through her veins. And then nothing. Until now. She looked around the chamber and saw the rows of frozen humans. They were all still asleep, all still in their glass coffins. She was the only one awake. She called out, but her voice was weak and raspy. No one answered. She was alone. It took her hours to crawl out of her cryo chamber. Her body was weak, and she had to stop frequently to rest. The chamber floor was cold against her skin. She had no clothes, just the thin gown she had been wearing when she was put to sleep. She shivered as she crawled. She found a control panel near the entrance of the chamber. It was covered in dust, and the screen was cracked. She wiped the dust away and tried to read what was on the screen. The language was unfamiliar to her, a strange script that she had never seen before. She tried pressing buttons, but nothing happened. The system was dead. She looked around the chamber and saw the bodies of the other humans. They were all still asleep, all still frozen. She wondered if they would ever wake up. She wondered if she was the only one. The thought terrified her. She was alone in a strange place with no idea how she had gotten there or how she was going to survive. She found a door at the back of the chamber. It was heavy and metal, and it took all her strength to push it open. Beyond the door was a corridor, dimly lit by flickering lights. She walked down the corridor, her bare feet cold on the metal floor. She had no idea where she was going, but staying in the chamber was not an option. She had to find out what had happened. The corridor led to a large room filled with machines. They were old and rusted, covered in a thick layer of dust. There was a screen on the wall, and she tried to make it work. It flickered to life, displaying a message in the same strange script. She stared at it, trying to make sense of it. She could not read it. She wandered through the room, looking for something she could use. She found a small container filled with water and drank it greedily. She found some dried food and ate it. She found a blanket and wrapped it around herself. She was no longer cold, but she was still terrified. She had no idea where she was or how she was going to survive. She found a communication device on a table. It was old and damaged, but she managed to get it working. She pressed the button and spoke into it, hoping someone would hear her. "Hello," she said. "Is anyone there?" There was no response. She tried again, but there was only silence. She felt a wave of despair wash over her. She was completely alone. There was no one to help her, no one to tell her what had happened. She was on her own. She sat on the floor and cried. She cried for the life she had lost, for the family she had left behind, for the world she would never see again. She cried until she had no tears left. And when she was done crying, she got up and started looking for answers. She was not going to give up. She was going to survive. Sarah spent the next few days exploring the facility. It was huge, much larger than she had initially thought. There were countless rooms, each filled with different types of machinery. She found a room with beds, a room with food supplies, and a room with what appeared to be medical equipment. She also found several more cryo chambers, but they were all empty. She began to piece together what had happened. The humans had been put to sleep in this facility, but something had gone wrong. The machines had failed, and most of the humans had died. She was one of the few survivors. She found records in a room filled with books, but the language was impossible for her to understand. The script was unlike anything she had ever seen. She spent days trying to make sense of the records. She found a translation device in one of the rooms and managed to get it working. She pointed it at the books, and it began to translate the text. The words that appeared on the screen were shocking. The humans had not been put to sleep for a few years or decades. They had been put to sleep for 10,000 years. The promise had been broken. The aliens who had agreed to wake them had abandoned them. The facility had been forgotten. She was the first human to wake in millennia. The records were incomplete. Many of the pages were missing or damaged. She could not read the entire history, but she managed to piece together some of it. The humans had fled Earth because it was dying. The aliens who had taken them and had promised to find them a new home. But the aliens had been destroyed in a war, and the humans had been left behind. Sarah sat in the room and tried to absorb what she had learned. She was the last of her kind. The millions of humans who had been put to sleep were dead. She was the only one left. The weight of that knowledge was almost too much to bear. She had been a normal woman, a nurse who had volunteered for the mission. She had not been prepared for this, but she refused to give up hope. There had to be something else out there. The records mentioned other facilities, other colonies. Perhaps there were other survivors. She decided to search the facility for a way to communicate with the outside world. She needed to know if there was anyone else out there. She found a communications room at the end of the facility. It was filled with equipment that she did not recognize. She studied it carefully, trying to figure out how it worked. After several hours, she managed to get it operational. She sent out a signal, a general broadcast that could be picked up by anyone with the right equipment. She waited for a response. Hours passed. She began to lose hope. Then, a signal came through. It was faint, weak, but it was there. It was a response, a voice speaking in a language she did not understand. She quickly grabbed the translation device and pointed it at the receiver. The words appeared on the screen. "Who is this?" the voice asked. "Who is sending this signal?" Sarah's heart raced. She responded quickly, her voice trembling. "My name is Sarah. I am human. I am alone. Can you help me?" There was a pause. Then the voice responded. "Human? You cannot be human. Humans have been extinct for thousands of years. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. I am human, she said. I am alive. Please help me. Another pause. Then the voice said, Where are you? Give me your coordinates. Sarah did not know the coordinates. She looked around the room, searching for anything that might give her the location. She found a map on the wall, a chart of the galaxy. She read the coordinates aloud, and the voice responded. That is a dead zone, the voice said. There is nothing there. No life, no civilization. How can you be there? I do not know, Sarah said. I woke up here. I am alone. Please, can you come get me? The voice was silent for a long time. Sarah feared that the signal had been lost. Then the voice returned. I will come, it said, but it will take me some time. I am far away. Stay where you are. Do not leave. I will find you. Sarah felt a wave of relief wash over her. She was not alone. There was someone out there, someone who was coming to help her. She spent the next few days waiting, exploring the facility, gathering supplies. She found more food, more water, more blankets. She was prepared for the journey ahead. When the ship finally arrived, it was like nothing she had ever seen. It was huge, a massive vessel that hovered over the facility. A hatch opened, and a figure descended. It was an alien, tall and slender, with pale blue skin and large eyes. It looked at her with curiosity. I am Kale, the alien said. I am the one who answered your signal. You are truly human. Sarah nodded. I am truly human. I am the last one. Kale looked at her with a mixture of awe and sadness. I have heard stories of your people, he said. You were supposed to be the great hope of the galaxy. You were supposed to bring peace and prosperity. But you were lost. You were forgotten. Sarah felt tears welling up in her eyes. I do not understand, she said. What happened to us? Why were we left here? Kale shook his head. I do not know, he said. The records are old. The truth has been lost. But I promise you, I will help you find it. Kale took Sarah aboard his ship, and they set off into the stars. Sarah looked out the window and saw the galaxy spread out before her. It was beautiful, a swirling mass of stars and planets. She felt a sense of wonder and hope. She was no longer alone. She was on a journey to discover the truth. The journey was long. Kale and Sarah spent many hours talking. He told her about the galaxy, about the many species that inhabited it, about the wars and the alliances. She listened intently, absorbing everything. She was amazed by the diversity of life in the universe, by the beauty and the complexity of it all. Kale was fascinated by Sarah. He had never met a human before. He asked her about Earth, about her life, about her dreams. She told him about the blue skies and the green grass, about the cities and the forests. She told him about the people she had loved and the ones she had lost. He listened with rapt attention, his large eyes never leaving her face. As they traveled, they encountered other alien species. Some were friendly, others were not. Kale and Sarah had to navigate a dangerous galaxy filled with unknown threats. But Sarah was not afraid. She had survived 10,000 years of sleep. She could survive anything. The journey took them to many places. Kale showed Sarah the wonders of the galaxy, the beautiful planets, the fascinating life forms. She was filled with a sense of awe and wonder. But she also learned about the darker side of the galaxy, the wars, the destruction, the suffering. It was a reminder that the universe was not always kind. They visited a planet that had once been a great center of learning. The ruins of ancient libraries still stood, their halls filled with books and records. Sarah spent days exploring them, trying to find any information about humanity. She found fragments of history, pieces of a story that had been lost. She learned that humanity had been a great civilization, one of the most advanced in the galaxy. They had invented incredible technologies, had explored the farthest reaches of space. But they had also been arrogant, had believed that they were superior to all other species. That arrogance had led to their downfall. The records mentioned a great war, a conflict that had nearly destroyed the galaxy. Humanity had been caught in the middle, fighting on both sides. The war had been devastating, and humanity had been decimated. The survivors had been put into cryo-sleep, their future uncertain. Sarah was shocked by what she read. She had not known about the war. Her people had been warlike, had caused great suffering. She felt a profound sense of shame. But she also felt a desire to make things right, to find a way to restore honor to her people. Kale was sympathetic. He understood that Sarah was not responsible for the actions of her ancestors. He encouraged her to focus on the future, on finding a way to rebuild. "You are the last of your kind," he said. "You have a chance to start over, to create a better world." Sarah was not sure if she was ready for that responsibility. She was just a nurse, not a leader. But she knew that she could not simply give up. She had to try. They continued their journey, searching for answers. They visited more planets, explored more ruins. They found more fragments of history, more pieces of the puzzle. Slowly, the story began to take shape. The humans had been put to sleep for a reason. It was not just because they had been defeated in war. There was something else, something that had scared the galaxy so much that it had decided to keep humanity frozen. The records hinted at a great danger, a threat that humanity posed to all other life forms. Sarah was disturbed by this revelation. What had her people done that was so terrible? She was determined to find out. They eventually reached a planet that was home to the oldest civilization in the galaxy. The inhabitants were ancient, wise, and powerful. They were known as the Keepers of Knowledge. They possessed records that dated back to the beginning of time. Sarah and Kale were granted an audience with them. The Keepers listened to Sarah's story with interest. They had heard of humanity, had read about them in their ancient archives. They knew about the war, about the cryo-sleep, about the mystery that surrounded their sleeping people. But even they did not know the full truth. One of the Keepers led Sarah to a hidden chamber. It was filled with holographic records, images and sounds that had been preserved for eons. She was shown a history of humanity, a detailed account of their rise and fall. She watched as her people grew from primitive beings to a great spacefaring civilization. She saw their triumphs and their failures. And then she saw it, the moment when everything changed. The humans had made a discovery, a breakthrough that had terrified the galaxy. They had developed a way to manipulate the very fabric of reality, to reshape the universe according to their will. It was a power that could have been used for great good, but the humans had other plans. They planned to use this power to conquer the galaxy. They believed that they were destined to rule, that all other species were inferior. They had built a weapon, a device that could remake the universe in their image. The other species had been forced to act, to stop humanity before it was too late. The war had been brutal. Millions had died. In the end, the humans had been defeated. But the weapon, the device that could reshape reality, could not be destroyed. It had been hidden, buried in a secret location that no one knew. The humans had been put into cryo-sleep to prevent them from ever using it again. Sarah watched the hologram in silence. The weight of her people's sins was heavy on her shoulders. She had thought that she was a victim, that her people had been wronged. But they had been the perpetrators. They had tried to destroy the galaxy. The Keeper looked at Sarah with pity. "You are not responsible for the sins of your ancestors," she said. "But you must understand the fear that your people inspired. The galaxy kept you frozen not out of malice, but out of self-preservation. They were scared. They are still scared." Sarah nodded. She understood now. Her people were not the victims. They were the villains. She felt a deep sadness, a profound regret. She wished that she could change the past, could make things right. But she knew that was impossible. All she could do was try to build a better future. She asked the Keeper about the weapon, the device that could reshape reality. The Keeper shook her head. "It is lost," she said. "It was hidden in a place that no one can find. The universe is safe." Sarah was not sure if she believed that. She had seen the ambition of her people, the darkness that lurked in their hearts. She knew that they would not have given up so easily. There had to be more to the story. She returned to Kale and told him what she had learned. He was shocked by the revelation. He had not known the truth about humanity. He had seen Sarah as a victim, had felt sympathy for her. Now he saw her in a different light. She was the descendant of monsters. Sarah could see the change in his eyes. The trust that had been there was gone, replaced by suspicion and fear. She felt her heart break. She had lost the only friend she had. But she refused to give up. She would prove to Kale, to the galaxy, that she was different. She would show them that humanity could change. Sarah and Kale left the planet of the Keepers with a heavy silence between them. The journey back to the ship was long and uncomfortable. Sarah could feel Kale's eyes on her, watching her with suspicion. She knew that he was afraid of her, afraid of what she might do. She tried to talk to him, tried to explain that she was not like her ancestors. "I am just a nurse," she said. "I did not want to conquer the galaxy. I just wanted to live." Kale listened, but did not respond. He was struggling with his own feelings. He had come to care for Sarah, had seen her as a friend. Now he was not sure if he could trust her. The weight of the past was too heavy. Sarah felt isolated. She had never felt more alone. She was the last of her kind, a member of a species that had tried to destroy the universe. She was hated and feared. It was a lonely existence. But she was determined to prove herself. She would find a way to show the galaxy that humanity could be redeemed. They continued their journey, visiting more planets, gathering more information. Sarah was driven by a need to understand, to uncover the full truth. She was convinced that there was more to the story, something that had been left out. One day, they received a signal from a distant planet. It was a distress call, a plea for help. A colony was under attack, its inhabitants facing certain death. Sarah and Cale debated what to do. It was dangerous, but Sarah felt a moral obligation to help. "We have to go," she said. "We cannot just ignore them." Cale was hesitant. "It is not our problem," he said. "We could be killed." Sarah looked at him with fierce determination. "I am not going to stand by while innocent people suffer. That is not who I am. That is not what humanity should be." Cale was moved by her words. He saw the sincerity in her eyes and recognized that she was different. She was not like her ancestors. She was a good person. "All right," he said. "We will help." They set course for the planet, arriving just in time. The colony was being attacked by a group of pirates, ruthless and cruel. Sarah and Cale fought alongside the colonists, using their skills to defend them. Sarah proved to be a capable fighter, her medical training giving her knowledge of anatomy that made her effective in combat. The battle was fierce, but they managed to drive off the pirates. The colonists were grateful, praising Sarah and Cale as heroes. Sarah felt a sense of pride, a feeling that she had done something good. She had helped people, had saved lives. The colonists invited them to stay, to celebrate their victory. Sarah and Cale accepted, enjoying the hospitality of the grateful people. Sarah felt a sense of belonging, a feeling that she had found a place where she was accepted. But the peace was short-lived. The pirates returned, this time with more ships. They were determined to destroy the colony, to take its resources. Sarah and Cale fought again, but this time they were outnumbered. They were forced to retreat, to flee the colony. Sarah was devastated. She had failed to save the people she had tried to protect. She felt like a failure, like she had let everyone down. Cale comforted her. "You did your best," he said. "That is all anyone can do. You cannot save everyone." Sarah knew that he was right, but it did not make the pain go away. She had learned a hard lesson, a lesson that the galaxy was a dangerous place. She could not always win. They left the planet, continuing their journey. Sarah was changed by the experience. She had seen the worst of the galaxy, had faced death, and survived. She was stronger, more determined. They eventually received another signal, a message from a planet that was home to a group of scientists. They had been studying the ancient human weapon, the device that could reshape reality. They believed that they had found its location. Sarah and Cale were intrigued. They decided to investigate, to see if the scientists were right. They arrived at the planet and were met by a team of researchers. The scientists were excited, convinced that they had made a breakthrough. They showed Sarah and Cale the data they had gathered. They had discovered a pattern, a series of coordinates that led to a hidden location. They believed that the weapon was hidden there, in a secret vault. Sarah felt a sense of dread. She knew that the weapon was dangerous, that it could destroy the galaxy. She did not want to find it. But she also knew that if the weapon fell into the wrong hands, it could be used for evil. "We have to find it," she said. "We have to make sure it is safe." The scientists agreed. They formed an expedition, traveling to the location. It was a remote planet, a desolate world with no signs of life. They searched for the vault, navigating through treacherous terrain. Finally, they found it. A massive door, sealed with ancient technology. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She was standing before the entrance to the vault, the place where the weapon was hidden. They worked together to open the door, using the scientist's knowledge and Sarah's determination. The door slowly opened, revealing a dark chamber. They stepped inside, their flashlights illuminating the space. And there it was. The weapon, a massive device that hummed with power. Sarah felt a sense of awe and terror. She was standing before the thing that had nearly destroyed the galaxy. One of the scientists reached out to touch it. Sarah shouted a warning, but it was too late. The device activated, sending out a pulse of energy. The scientists were thrown back, knocked unconscious. Sarah and Cale were barely able to stay standing. Sarah looked at the device and realized the truth. It was not a weapon. It was something else, something far more dangerous. It was a tool, a device that could create worlds, reshape reality itself. The humans had not planned to destroy the galaxy. They had planned to create a new one, a perfect one. But the other species had misunderstood. They had seen the device as a threat, had attacked humanity before they could use it. The war had been a mistake, a tragedy born of fear and misunderstanding. Sarah realized that she had been wrong about her people. They were not villains. They were dreamers. They had wanted to create a better world, a perfect world. They had been stopped before they could achieve their vision. She looked at Kale. "We have to protect this," she said. "We have to make sure it is never used for evil." Kale nodded. He understood now. Humanity was not the enemy. Fear was the enemy. Sarah and Kale stood before the device, the ancient human creation that could reshape reality. It hummed with power, a silent testament to the dreams and ambitions of a lost civilization. Sarah felt a sense of connection to her ancestors, a bond that she had not expected. They were not monsters. They were visionaries. But the galaxy did not see it that way. The other species were still afraid. They feared the power of the device, feared what humanity might do with it. Sarah knew that she had to show them the truth, that she had to prove that humanity could be trusted. She and Kale worked together, studying the device, learning how it worked. They discovered that it could not be used for destruction. It was designed for creation, for building new worlds, new realities. It was a tool for peace, not war. Sarah decided that she would find a way to use it for good. She would show the galaxy that humanity had changed, that they could be a force for good. She would prove that fear was the enemy, not her people. The journey was long and difficult. Sarah faced many challenges, many obstacles. But she never gave up. She was driven by a sense of purpose, a desire to create a better world. She began to travel across the galaxy, speaking to different species, sharing her story. She told them about the device, about its true purpose. She showed them that humanity was not a threat. She showed them that they could be friends. Many were skeptical at first. They had heard the stories, had been told about the war. But Sarah's sincerity won them over. They began to see her as a friend, as an ally. They started to trust her. Kale was by her side the entire time. He had become her trusted friend, her partner. He believed in her mission. He helped her every step of the way. Together, they built a coalition, a group of species who were willing to work together. They shared a common goal, a desire to create a better galaxy. They were united by hope, not fear. Sarah eventually returned to the vault, to the device that had caused so much fear. She stood before it, feeling its power. She knew that she had to use it, had to show the galaxy what it could do. She activated the device, focusing her mind on a vision of a perfect world. The device hummed, and the energy flowed through her. She saw a new reality take shape, a world of peace and prosperity. It was beautiful, a testament to the dreams of her people. The galaxy watched in awe as the new world took shape. They saw the power of the device, saw what it could do. And they saw that Sarah had used it for good, not for evil. Sarah had proven herself. She had shown that humanity could change, that they could be a force for good. She had overcome the fear and distrust of the galaxy. The new world was a symbol of hope, a reminder that even the darkest past could be redeemed. Sarah felt a sense of peace, a feeling that she had fulfilled her purpose. She had found a way to honor her ancestors, to make things right. She and Kale settled on the new world, building a life together. They were the founders of a new civilization, a society built on hope and trust. They were surrounded by friends, by allies, by people who believed in the same dream. Sarah looked up at the stars and smiled. She had come so far, had faced so many challenges. But she had never given up. She had found a way to create a better future, a future that her people would be proud of. The galaxy let humanity sleep for 10,000 years. They forgot the reason they never woke them. But Sarah had remembered. She had woken up, had discovered the truth. And she had shown the galaxy that humanity was worth saving. The end was only the beginning. Sarah had started a new chapter, a chapter of hope and redemption. She had proven that even the darkest past could be overcome, that even the most forgotten people could find a way back. The galaxy would never forget the lesson that Sarah had taught them. They would never forget that fear was the enemy, that trust was the key to a better future. And they would never forget that even a forgotten people could change the world. Sarah stood on the new world, looking out at the horizon. She felt a sense of peace, a feeling that she had finally found her home. She was the last of her kind, but she was not alone. She had found a new family, a new purpose. She had found hope.